Good evening, everyone. I'm GWFawkes. Welcome to the Model Gaming Show, live show. Just as a preface, I do not respond to chat in the beginning. I can do it at the end of the show, but I'm just going to be going. It's too hard for me to go. So with that out of the way, this is for the week of June 17th and post E3 week. So not much news really. It's just a light week. I mean, come on. You just had the biggest game conference in the world happen, so there's not going to be much new news, especially since all that's been dumped. I do want to say that 2 days ago, on Friday the 22nd, that Mario Tennis Aces came out and is sitting about at a 79 on OpenCritic.com. Looks really fun. It's a game that I am interested in, and I might pick it up down the line in a little bit once it drops a little bit. I have a feeling this is going to be a Nintendo game that drops a little bit. Other than that, no new releases of note. I do want to talk a little bit about PlayStation hits before I go into the major topic of the console battle royale. So let me get to that. PlayStation blog announced that they're releasing a certain amount of games for PlayStation hits. They've done this for every console that I can remember. I remember actually having several PlayStation 3 hits and PlayStation 2 hits of games that have been out for several years that are really good. They have all their content in most cases. Some of these I actually do not think they do, like Drive Club, but they're $20, and that's a good value. It's a good deal. That matters. You get games. So I'm gonna list off these games, and there's definitely several that are close to that price now. So it's gonna matter looking into it if it includes all the DLC and whatnot. So we've got Bloodborne, which is supposed to be an amazing game. It's on my list. Drive Club, Infamous Second Son. You got Killzone Shadowfall. Sorry, I'm just reading off a list. Little Big Planet 3, Ratchet and Clank, The Last of Us Remastered, which is kind of at like $20 or less anyways. I think you might be able to buy that used for less than that for sure. Same game. Uncharted 4, Battlefront 4, Doom. That's hovering right around there too, about that $20 mark, you know. Project Cars, Street Fighter 5, and the biggest gets, I think, are Yakuza Kiwami and Yakuza 0. That floored me. I'm really interested in playing those on a bigger screen. I don't get me wrong, I like my computer monitor, but to be able to play those on a big screen, I think is going to be cool for $20 a piece. So I really like that. I'm glad they're doing that. I'm glad they're doing it again. They've done it for every console, and that I can at least recall, because I've bought hits for them. It's something similar to Nintendo does, and I think it's about time. Everyone suspects that next year they're going to announce a new system, and then it might release later that year. So if it doesn't release that year, it'll release the year after that, and hey, it's a good time to start putting out those hits. I hope at the end of the year they release a list of more. I think that was 15 games. That's a good amount. There's a lot of really good games on that list. A lot of value in that list. So excited for me when I eventually get my PlayStation 4 and just start going through all those games, that I'll be able to pick those up for a cheap price and, you know, the full experiences. The heading of tonight's topic is a little vague: console battle royale, and of course I'm just putting battle royale just for clicks. But it's actually not it's a fairly apt comparison on. I want to compare after E3 where they're at, and just off the top of the head here, I'd like to start with Nintendo, since their Direct really focused on Smash and a couple other games that were cool, but really it was Smash and the emphasis on Smash. They didn't even go over Mario Tennis Aces, which I know it just came out again, but at the same time, don't you think you'd want to build awareness? Very odd move, at least in my thinking. I thought it was an odd move for Nintendo to not acknowledge it and pump it up. Same thing with Splatoon 2. You know, they've got a big expansion coming out, I believe, in July. It would have been nice to pump that up a lot and just say, hey, it's coming. You get hyped for it. Be excited for it. But they really focused on Smash, and they're doubling down on Smash big time. That is their big game this year. I basically am calling it like a remaster. It looks good, but it looks, frankly, no different than the Wii U version. And so, yes, you now have every character, every level, everything, right? Everyone's there, okay? Everyone's there. And while that's great, it doesn't come out until December 8th, I believe. And that being their only big announcement, no Samus announcement, no anything on that front. Nothing really else. No new Mario Kart in the works. I mean, you guys got to remember that Mario Kart was just a port. That's all it was. So no announcement for that. So where do they stand? They've got their online component coming up in September, or winter, which obviously Smash will be ready and hopefully launch with that component. And they're sitting good. It's just obviously could never live up to the hype of last year when they had both Mario and Zelda. So, with that being said, I think because of the missteps of Sony recently, that Nintendo partnering, with everybody for crossplay of Fortnite is a big deal. I think they're continuing to put out great exclusives and release all these great indies that you might not have been able to play otherwise. I know most people don't have a gaming PC. They play by consoles, and to have a lot of these games on the Switch on the go is tremendous. That is still a huge selling point for Nintendo at this point in the game, and I think it's one of their biggest reasons. I mean, I'm one of the very few people that just play the Nintendo Docked, and they do have a steady lineup of good games coming out. I'm super excited for Octopath Traveler. That's getting released soon in July. Mario Tennis in July or June. You got Octopath Traveler in July, along with Splatoon's announcement. Like, they've got things throughout the year, and then hammering it home with Super Smash Brothers. I'm very interested to see the next year. I'm very interested to see that third year. How much are they firing on all cylinders? Are we going to get a new Mario Kart? Are we going to get a new Donkey Kong? Are we going to get that new Samus game? I mean, those are the three big ones. Star Fox is in Starlink, or whatever it's called, but I think they need a new game. I think, are we going to get a new F-Zero? I know they need to spread these out, but what else is coming? What else is coming? And I think that's the question Nintendo needs to answer most to keep the momentum going. They're selling well. They're selling really well. But at the same time, they haven't run out of steam, okay? Because you still got Smash coming. But if you think about that, Mario Odyssey came out in October, I believe. So by the time Smash comes out, it will be an entire 14 months, give or take, since their big release of like a mainline Mario title and then a Super Smash Brothers game, like a next big title. Yes, I know Mario Tennis Aces is going to be fun and everything, but it's not a mainline. It's one of their sports games. They don't sell nearly as well. So I'm interested in the third year. Let's move to Microsoft. As I said on the last show, I think Microsoft's playing for the future, and I think they've done everything they can to set themselves up for that. This isn't going to be a long talk for them. I think they did everything they could at this E3 to hedge their bets, to leverage as much momentum as they can get going, to really take stock of what they've done in the past and correct those mistakes. And really the focus on the 5 new studios, 4 purchased, 1 created by them, is the indication of, hey, you're getting carte blanche, make some friggin' new IP. Let's do it. And That's pretty damn cool. And especially with what they've done for backwards compatibility, games on the Xbox and Xbox 360, it's never going to be full libraries. But if they can keep that going and have you play Xbox games on their new console release that's going to be released in 2020, that would be a game changer. And I think that's what they're doing. I think Microsoft is going to iterate. I do not think they're going to try and do what Sony is doing. I think they're going to iterate, and this is going to be a very powerful console, much more powerful than the X, but I still think you'll be able to play Xbox games on there. I think that's their strategy, whether by downloading it or backwards compatibility. I think they'll still be releasing games for that. It's just going to be like a wide range, right? They even mentioned as much that for their next Xbox, there's going to be different types. And I think it's going to be like what they did with the 360, right? You could get the 20 gig version, the 60 gig version, the 100 gig version, whatever versions you can get, right? And they're going to have different models, because I think that's where it's going now, is like you can iterate and buy the best model or not. So I think Microsoft did everything they possibly could to get people on board for the future and what's coming up. And there's still good games going to be released this console generation. Don't sweat on that. There's still going to be good games, but they are looking towards the future, which brings us to Sony, who is definitely gloating in the present, and they deserve to be doing that. Frankly, they've been kicking ass, taking names, doing everything right. But I think their recent stumbles, purposeful stumbles with online play, is actually going to impact them in the future, just like it did for the 360. If you recall, PlayStation 4 launched really heavily, really pricey, like $600. And they were very arrogant because they knew that they had a great machine, they had great console exclusives, and no one could deny that. But all of my friends and everybody I know had an Xbox 360 because of the online play and because of that community centricness. And with Sony's latest stunt of not letting anybody who who has their Fortnite account tied to a PlayStation cannot take it anywhere else, I think locking of cross-platform play has now become an issue. And I think if that's like that going forward, instead of them realizing that they can come together and gaming as a whole is good, I think that will negatively impact them in the future. They didn't even mention new hardware coming, anything like that. I think Microsoft wants to beat them out of the gate. I think they're going to be a year late. Not that that's bad, but I think they're going to come out a year later, and I'm going to be curious to see what the differences are. Since the announcement of these new consoles, the whole backbone of it has been PlayStation's just got the best games, man. They just have the best exclusives, the best single-player focused games, and really, that's kind of what's carried them. But now, with the Battle Royale movement getting so high, I mean, Fortnite and PUBG alone are probably getting like 200 million active subscribers. And, to have that on your console, how could you recommend someone get Fortnite on the PS4 for their first console when they're locked out? If they have a Switch, I'd get it on there because then you can take it anywhere. Again, it's a privileged conversation, but if you got a PC, I'd play it there I'd play it on every other way you can except on your PS4, because you can at least have the option of taking it elsewhere if you get those capabilities. So I think that's going to hurt them, and I think that type of stubbornness and that type of arrogance, that type of arrogance might hurt them in the future, honestly. People remember that stuff, and next console generation comes around, you can bet your ass that Microsoft is going to come out swinging, saying something to the effect of, and not only that, all of our games will be cross-platform with Nintendo, with the Nintendo Switch. Can you imagine that statement? If they've got that partnership or something like that going, that every game that you can play online for both systems, you can play with everyone on PC, and that PlayStation's going to be locked out. I think that's going to matter. I think that's something that they'll do at another conference, or they'll start making games and partnering with Switch and Nintendo to really hammer that home. And so I hope that PlayStation also hasn't really learned from anything because they're still raking it in. And Fortnite might be the game to make them think differently because of how big it is and how many potential dollars they could be losing. That's just the case. And yeah, that's going to do it. I think all three consoles are healthy. People like to point out that yes, Microsoft's getting their ass handed to them by Sony, but that's not to say that Microsoft's not doing good. Especially with the Games Pass, it's a phenomenal deal, but I also think it's a deal for Microsoft too. I think that's going to really help win them next generation. Is you have that backbone of all these games that you can bring, and that's going to be a big one. So thank you for watching. Looks like it's just me here, so I'm going to call it a night. I appreciate anybody that's tuning live. Again, I'm GWFawkes, FAWKES on Instagram and Twitter. This is Model Gaming, twitch.tv/Model Gaming Show. I appreciate anybody tuning in here or on the archives on YouTube. Sorry for the late stream. Just frankly had a busy day, and this is the only free time I could get. So thank you and have a wonderful evening.